So this is the kind of situation we face back then, and of course the program was funded for 7 months, and then it was cut off. So, and we need that kind of adult job training program across the country, and very thick and deep, through the younger generation. I mean, it should have been a national program, but it never made it that way, and because of the negative Congress, had no chance. But at least when the Obama administration started off, they were exploring new ideas about how to service the community. But again, the hand of white supremacy kind of cut Barack Obama's initiatives off. And so that's why it makes it imperative for us to really have our own solution to our own problems based in our own neighborhood with our own hands on it, And it's got to be an indigenous move among the African Americans that leads this. Now, everybody else can have a part to play, but the people who are the biggest victims of the white supremacy have to come together first before it set down the foundation. And this is, again, after you look at the Black Lives Matter and you look at the protests of brothers and sisters, well-meaning brothers and sisters all across the country, because issues of these cameras catching people shooting blacks, it's what's going on. That's the difference between, let's say, in 1966, when they assassinated a brother and started the Hunters Point riot, and now is the video. So the videos all over the place of our people being shot and killed. When do we come together? When do we respond? How do we respond? We have to sit down, instead of taking an emotional, an emotional plunge, we got to sit down and try to come up with a more sustained position and consensus that we all agree on, and then go for it. But first, we got to come together and have that consensus, that idea that every national liberation movement that was successful so far has had this coming together first. Whatever model of liberation you want to come to, unity is going to have to be the first requirement. But how do we unify? We unify over a program. What is that program got to be? It's got to be a consensus of ideas. It can't be my ideas or your ideas. It has to be a consensus that we all support, and then we can all fight for it. This is my lesson from the Obama administration, because as a government teacher and a student of government, I had a little bit more optimism probably than most that things would have changed a little bit better. Had no idea in 2008 we'd still be getting slaughtered by the police here in 2016 or 2014. So again, the book is an observation. It goes along the path of the first book, goes along the path of the first administration, and the second, part two, covers the second administration of Obama. Mm-hmm. But I think if you read the book and look at the ideas, think about them, and then respond to them, in your own way, I think we have a healthy review of the Obama years and of what kind of solutions, because we still need solutions to our problems. You were stating about Chicago and all the killings that have happened there, and black-on-black killing is an international problem. It happens in Jamaica, where they say the blood I run, It happens in, even in Nigeria, where I live. There's still black, they have area boys. They're like gangsters. And they actually, think they got a hip-hop element to it, too. But I'm just saying, we have the problem internationally as blacks, where we've been so dehumanized by this massive and, this massive thing called white supremacy. We've been so dehumanized that we're thinking that maybe we don't matter that much either. And as a result, like I said, the lady was advising me that brothers kill brothers morning, noon, and night, and we got to stop it. And one of the ways that we empower ourselves to stop the police instances of murder of African Americans is, first of all, put hands on and stop the black-on-black crime, and then we make a stronger statement about other people eliminating us. But when we're eliminating ourselves wholesale, it's kind of it's a hard move to say nobody else should.
One of the things that, you've used a couple of terms that are a little controversial. White supremacy, I think you've used that term maybe close to a dozen times during our conversation, and the idea of black on black crime. Some of us have stopped using those terms because they tend to be somewhat emotionally or psychologically crippling. I'll give you an example. White supremacy, people in China, in South Korea, in Singapore, they don't refer at all to white supremacy. They just deal with global competition between nations. It seems, from my perspective, because I quit using the term in the early 1990s myself, it seems that the biggest advocates of white supremacy have become African Americans. And the second term, black on black crime, well, in China, it's Chinese on Chinese crime. In Japan, it's Japanese on Japanese crime. In America, to a great extent, the murders of white people are committed by white people. But when we talk about what happened in Chicago, there were 762 murders. That include people of various ethnicities. There was a series of studies have confirmed this. One particular study I cite frequently from the Pew Charitable Trust Research Foundation that talks about the association between violent crime and wealth disparity. And they found this to be true, whether it in South America, Central America, the United States, whether it's in Chicago, Philadelphia, or whatever, that the greater the gap between the wealthy and the rest of the population, the higher is the rate of violent crime in those areas. And I think it is probably true that insofar as wealth disparity, Chicago is probably one of the leading cities in the country with a gap between the richest of the rich and the poorest of the poor. Do you think that this wealth disparity has something to do with the fact that Chicago is setting this incredible record for violent crime and murder this year?
Well, I have been to some of those East Coast cities, and they talk about Rust Belt and old factories and people having massive unemployment. It's still, that's why you can't ignore that, and especially on the East Coast, you can't ignore the massive amount of black unemployment, which feeds into the seriousness of the situation on the streets. And so white supremacy is the leading component of that, because without white supremacy, you wouldn't even have America. and then what America has spawned is entertainment, because even in James Brown's time, they had little groups of black boys fighting each other for white entertainment. So this has been bred into us, it's in our DNA, it's undeniable. We got to deal with it. We got to put it on the table. We got to put it up in plain view. We got to sit down and have the dialogue in the African American community that we're not going to be like this anymore. We're not going to be continuing to be self-destructive. We have to make that frontal decision. Yes, we are facing a white supremacy system, whether the people in China are facing it or not, because we have a unique circumstance here in America. We have to define it ourselves. We have to agree upon it. And that's taken us a long time. There's been a big diversion over the time that there's been a movement. But if the movement doesn't ever consolidate through a national strategic black consensus, then we continue to be divided. We continue to be unempowered. This having a consensus is one way we can empower ourselves, and we must find ways to empower ourselves in a situation like ours, because we have the right to vote. And I remember when I was in Nigeria teaching it to students, we have the right to vote, but we couldn't vote up until 65 without retribution. Okay, now after 65, they've gutted the Voting Rights Act. So there's just things that are happening to us that are outside of our circumstance to control. What we can control inside of our circumstance is how we treat each other. We got the ultimate power on that zone. And so if we emphasize on preserving life in the black community, then that has to be part of our consensus. But also, there's another part to it also in the proposal, and that's to have an economic arm. And so you would have a national black trust to go along with the strategic national black consensus. And in this black trust, you would have the brothers and sisters who are well-to-do are making contributions, and this fund in change, finding young African Americans who will have their own business interests and ideas and promoting them. You would have to have an economic arm with this because of the hopelessness of our community and addressing it. And if we start to address that economic disparity that you talk about, then we will be showing ourselves how we can empower ourselves. So again, if you go back, I've written several books, but those last two, the American Challenges in the Obama Era, Part 1 and 2, those are the ones to look at in terms of how do we solidify and unify a united African American community that could lead the rest of the progressive community here in America. Okay? Because there is a progressive community, there are progressive people in every race. If we have ideas and they're good, they'll follow us. But if we are leading the example with examples like Chicago, it's kind of hard for anybody to see what kind of reasonable payoff people can take when they're so busy eliminating each other.
We have appreciated you joining us today. Again, we did start the conversation late, and we're going to have to wrap it up here. Before we go, before you make your closing statement, for those who want to know more about your writings or to be able to get a hold of these two of your latest writings, American Challenges in the Obama Era, Part 1, Part 2, how can they best maintain contact with you, Brother Ukali?
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, they can go to Amazon.com Kindle. I have an author's page there. So if you put Larry Ukali Johnson Red, or even just Johnson Red in a search box, you can get there that way. I have my own website, which I've relaunched after about 8 years, called the lovingblackwoman.com. And so you could go to lovingblackwoman.com. When you do that, make sure you put a forward stroke home and another forward stroke, and you go right there. We still, getting started here. Again, after an 8-year vacancy off the net. But that's a story of survival too. But anyway, that is one way. I've also written the book which I just mentioned, Loving Black Women. Mm-hmm. And I've also written a book called Journey to the Motherland, from San Francisco to Benin City, and History to Destiny through Afrocentric Poetry. Now, the difference is that all of my books are available, again, at Amazon.com as ebooks. I do have a few of the Journey original books, Journey to the Motherland. I have about 150 of them left, and soon I'm going to put a post office box on my website so people could get autographed copies. However, among all my books, there's one that has an after story, and that's Journey to the Motherland, because in 2014, my students from Agosa Grammar School, where I taught in Benin City, remembered me, found me on Facebook, invited me to London for their 4th convention. And there I saw about 50 of my students who, just kind of wrapped me in brotherly love. They all became, many of them became very successful. Many of them live in Europe as well as Africa. But there were a whole bunch of them there, and they really showed me a brotherly love. So I have updated Journey to the Motherland, because you can only do that with an ebook, updated. And so in the next couple of days, I'm going to upload the addition to the book called Journey to the Motherland, from San Francisco to Benin City. So that book has an after story. But the new book, again, American Challenges in the Obama Era, Part 2, is there for you. You can always go to my Facebook page or my Twitter page. I don't tweet, but I do have an account. But you can always go there, or go to my Facebook page, or go to Loving Black Women /home / just for now to get it right. And all my books are laid out there for me and for you. And also you can respond and leave comments as well. I'm going to be setting up some reviews of the other books. I haven't got reviews of American Challenges in the Obama Era Part 2 yet. However, if anyone wants to do a review, they could contact me at LJREDD52 at AOL.com. And that's again LJREDD52 at AOL.com. Call me and ask me for a review copy, and I'll get it to you somehow.
All right, we do appreciate that. Thanks for joining us today, and looking forward to further future conversations.
Sounds good to me. And again, brothers and sisters, let's stand together.
We have to stand, and we have to stand together. Umoja, that's a pretty good place to start. I do definitely agree. If anybody missed any portion of our conversation today with your brother, our brother, Brother Larry Ukali Johnson Red, do give us a call, or not give us a call. Go to our archives at libradio.com/7MAC. That'll get you right into our archives, where I will have the program up very shortly. And thank you all for tuning in. Also, thanks to the callers who called in. Brother Shabaka, Sister Ngoni, for calling in at the beginning of the show and helping us to talk about, our insights into the Obama era. And that was a very, very useful and informative piece as well. And so your calls are always welcome here on your LIB Radio, LIB TV, and livinginblack.com. Also, if you haven't already, go to, because it's a New Year's resolution. Someone told me that they went to the gym club to do a workout, and they said they couldn't even get in the parking lot. So many people on their New Year's resolutions getting the body fit. On their New Year's resolutions getting the body fit, getting the body in shape. Well, it should be an all year, every year, for decades thing that you do. And so you can always go to livingsuperfood.com, and I will do my best to help you get that body in the prime condition that you could imagine, so you can be young all over again, just like you need to do. And also, my new book is out. It's been out about 2 weeks now. We're shipping every day. The Repair Existing Resources. We're having great feedback on repairing. Reparations is so important that we decided to come up with a strategic plan to do it by self, for self, with our already met. And on that note, we are out of here. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Do stay tuned. LIB Radio, LIB TV, and Living in Black continues all day long on your favorite WNTC.